Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining America250PA today. We are so excited to welcome Stephanie Longo. She's a writer of local and regional Italian American history, heritage, and culture in Pennsylvania. So she's here to talk with us today about all things Italian in Pennsylvania. Stephanie, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, and happy Italian American Heritage Month.
Yeah, absolutely. October, right? Can you start off by just talking a little bit about yourself? Like, what's your background? Where are you located in PA?
Sure. So I'm a resident of Dunmore, which happens to be one of the top 20 most Italian communities in the United States. So that's a great source of pride for all of us. Lackawanna and Luzerne counties are actually 5 out of the top 20 in the US. So a really wonderful thing for us all. But I'm a resident of Dunmore. I'm a graduate of the University of Scranton, as well as Regent University. And I'm actually back at Regent right now working on a doctorate in strategic communications. So very heavily involved with the educational world right now. I'm professionally the associate producer of the Italian American podcast, and I also write books about Northeastern Pennsylvania's Italian American history. So I guess you could call me a professional Italian American in a lot of ways.
It definitely sounds like it.
Yeah.
So I know that you have a background, of course, you're Italian, but what was your main inspiration for getting so involved in spreading this in Pennsylvania?
So when you talk about Italian American locales in the United States, it feels sometimes as a Pennsylvanian looking outward that people don't realize how much we have here in the Keystone State. And I think anybody who lives here knows we have an awesome state. There's so much going on. We're also gigantic. So you could go from one end of the state to the other and get a completely different experience. And as I was just doing my research, getting involved with things, I realized people don't know about the Italian community in Northeastern PA, yet we're one of the largest. You tend to think of places like New York, New Jersey, because that's the hub. Right. But then outside of that, you don't realize. And I thought, well, you know what, maybe I can change that perception and maybe I could do something about it. And I've really dedicated my whole writing career just to talking about Italian Americans in Northeast PA, and a little bit too in some of the other sections of Pennsylvania that people don't tend to realize. I've just written an article for Primo magazine on the Letterkenny Army Depot's chapel that was constructed by Italian POWs during World War II. People don't realize that there's all of this Italian and Italian American culture right here where we're from.
Wow. No, I'm so glad you're, out there sharing all of it too. And especially, as we lead up to 2026, we're looking to really highlight all of Pennsylvania and include every Pennsylvanian. So we thank you for your work in making the Italian heritage well known and respected in PA.
Thank you.
You had mentioned your writing, then outside of books, you're doing additional writing too, but could you kind of explain like what a few of your main pieces of writing are about and how you got into those?
So my first book was The Italians of Northeastern Pennsylvania. I've got another book out just about the town of Dunmore that doesn't quite focus on Italian American things, but like I said, Dunmore is such a prominent Italian American population that it's in there. You can't escape it. And then my most recent one is Italians of Lackawanna County. And so proud of all of them. I'm still doing some more research, a big project on Italians in Scranton. So the city of Scranton, I'm working on specifically because there's so many sections of our city that have Italian things in them that people don't even realize. And they don't realize the history from way back during the era of immigration. It's almost like 2 different stories of Scranton. And my big dream project that I'm chipping away at every chance I get is a book on the entire Italian population of the Keystone State. So lots going on. Yeah, every time that I come across something, every time that somebody gives me a news tip, I have an Excel spreadsheet that I keep, and I keep it on a flash drive so I don't ever lose it because that would be tragic. And I just write it all down, and it's waiting for me to do something with it. And I am, but when you're tackling an entire state, it's much different than tackling Lackawanna County. So I want to be right with everything.
Absolutely. Well, we'll definitely stay tuned for that. And please keep us posted when you have any updates.
I will.
So we had mentioned working with America250PA to arrange like a book giveaway. And the book that you had mentioned was your Lackawanna County book regarding the Italian heritage there. Is there any particular reason you chose that book? Do you have like a personal connection to that one more so? Or like can you kind of give like a summary of what that book was about?
Sure. So that's my most recent one. And what I love about Italians of Lackawanna County is that it focuses on not only the past Italian American community of our area, but the present and kind of segueing into the future. People don't realize that there's stuff happening right now in our Italian American community. And that was something that I wanted to share with people, especially because your tagline is every Pennsylvanian. And that's important to me as an Italian American because we're such a big part of Pennsylvania's community that we want to be discovered. You should come and see what we have in Lackawanna County. But if you think that the history book is history as in past history, you might not come to see us. But if you see, here's the past and here's what's going on right now, hopefully you'll come and you'll discover all the great things that Northeast PA has to offer.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are very well put. Now, do you mind going a little bit deeper into the Lackawanna County? How exactly do you think that became such a hot spot for, the Italian American population?
Sure. I personally believe that it's definitely because of the rail and coal industries. You're looking at a place where it was also this beautiful convergence of ethnicities. You had the Polish, you had the Welsh, you had the Germans, you had Lithuanians. All of them, the Irish, they came to northeastern Pennsylvania to work in the mines, and they were able to do rather well for themselves. I have family members who went to New York City, the Brooklyn area, and they did okay for themselves. But then I have other family members, obviously I'm part of that settled in Northeast PA who did very well for themselves and who were able to save up the money. I tell the story of my great-grandfather who purposely waited so he could save up so my grandfather, my great-grandmother, and my great-aunt could all come over second class instead of steerage class. And that was special. And I think that the ability to live well out here. He worked as a stonemason for one of the coal companies, so he actually never went under the ground, but he was still able to do that. Obviously, the coal mining industry, it was a difficult industry to work in. A lot of tragic things happened, especially in terms of labor relations. You hear about those stories, but you also hear some of the stories of the self-made people from our area. You hear the barbers, you hear the shoemakers, you hear a funeral director, even Fidel Musso in Scranton. He's a wonderful example of somebody who really was able to build a business. These people helped build the city of Scranton and build Lackawanna County. And it's a very special thing to be able to celebrate.
Yeah, that's amazing. No, especially tying into your book too and being able to learn even more about that. That's incredible. You had mentioned before that you are also involved in an Italian American podcast. Can you share a little bit more about that and how people can learn more about it?
Yeah, I'm really lucky. So I work for the podcast during the day, and then at night I do my book research. So like I said, I'm a professional Italian American, and podcast is my dream job. Let's just call it what it is. It's not work. And, yes, it's my job, but it is not work. It's my passion. I love being a part of that. So I'm the associate producer. I work with the team in getting guests on, doing research for shows, having a hand in all of the amazing things that we do as a company to preserve Italian American heritage on a national scale. So I get to see my little Pennsylvania stuff that I love and see how that fits into the national conversation. And it's a beautiful thing. I'm so blessed every day.
Absolutely. No, that's amazing when you can turn a passion into, doing what you love for a job. That's amazing. Now, how can people learn more about the podcast? Is there a website or do they go to your website for it?
They could go to ItalianAmericanPodcast.com, and it's of course on my website as well.
Okay.
Anytime that I could direct people over to the podcast, it's a great thing. And you will learn. I have learned so much from John Viola and Pat O'Boyle that I didn't even know existed. I'm learning every day. So, like I said, it helps me be able to center Pennsylvania into that greater Italian American national conversation.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. Well, I'll definitely be mentioning that in the blog too. Be checking it out myself.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you had mentioned that, of course, the month of October is Italian American Heritage Month. What does that personally mean to you?
It's a chance to celebrate my ancestors. And I think that's something that we as Italian Americans do every day just by our own example. but it gives me a chance to actually pause and really celebrate the people who got me here. And that is my great-grandparents, my grandparents, the people who came before in the family tree that are so far back in generations that I may never know their name. I hope so. I love genealogy, but they all got me here. And I'm able to celebrate everything that they did. Every breath that they gave me life. And the best way to use that life is to be able to advocate for that shared thing that we all have in common, which is being Italian American. And to be able to pause during the month of October. I always try to learn something new about my heritage in October. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Working for the Italian American podcast, you would think that I would know a lot. And I feel like I do. I've definitely learned since I've taken on this job. And then, of course, what I do with the books. But there's things that I'm learning every day. I recently got these Italian American cookbooks from Watertown, New York. When I was a little girl, I would go up to the Thousand Islands every summer with my mom on vacation. And so the Thousand Islands are a special area to me. And I happened to be on a Facebook group that just talks about the Thousand Islands. And this woman started talking about the Italian community in Watertown. And I'm just like, I can't escape this. And we ended up just chit-chatting, and I learned a lot about their community. And she sent me some cookbooks from up there. And I'm learning some of these recipes that these immigrants brought to Watertown that are not part of my tradition whatsoever, but now I'm getting to incorporate those into my life. So that's my learning experience for this October. Every October, I try to do something different, if it's a craft or just watch a movie, a film, anything that I possibly can about Italian American heritage. In fact, Friday night, the Italian community in Hershey is actually launching their documentary about the Italians down there. It's going live. So that's another thing I'm doing for Italian American Heritage Month. I have my schedule cleared for Friday night so I could watch this amazing documentary, because Hershey is near and dear to my heart. And people don't realize that Milton Hershey brought Italians in to help build the town. And he was very good at them. So can't wait to see that.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Not to backtrack, but one thing I realized I forgot to ask you about your background that you have on Zoom. Is that personally, are you related to that in any sort of way?
Yes, that is my grandfather's hometown. Unfortunately, my grandfather passed away before I was born, and his big dream in life was to go back home to Guardia, Lombardy. That's Guardia behind me. And when I was 5 years old, it's my earliest childhood memory, my mother took me to a pizzeria in Clark Summit and traced the boot of Italy that was on the placemat with my finger. And she said, my daddy was born there and he loved it and he wanted to go home. And I just remembered that so much as a child. If you ask her today, she'll be like, I don't even remember that, but I do. And it's what brought me here. My grandfather was so proud Italian American. He was a barber in Dunmore. And that was his thing. He helped the Italian community here. He worked with them and he was proud to be Italian American, as was my grandmother. Her family came from Calabria. It was the same thing. So that's something that's been ingrained in me even before I came along, was always be proud to be Italian American.
Oh, that's amazing. Now, I'm assuming, have you had the chance to go to Italy and visit that town?
Yeah, I'm actually trying to buy property there right now.
Oh, wow. That would be interesting.
It's interesting. A lot of the properties in Italy are like, if you've probably heard of those 1-year-old homes that are all over the internet. And I've been working because I would like, obviously, if I'm going to do it, I want to be in Guardia. And I found a couple of nice places. So it's just a matter of getting over there to actually look at them and see which one I want and take the plunge. But to me, it's important because one day I hope to have a family of my own and I want to pass all of this on to my children.
Oh, that's so nice. Well, I really hope it works out for you over there.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I think really the last question I had to kind of tie into everything that we're doing in America250PA is how can we be sure to celebrate and honor Italian American heritage and accomplishments in Pennsylvania as we lead up to the nation's semi-quincentennial?
That is a wonderful question. And I like to phrase it with, you've already come into contact with Italian American heritage without realizing it. If you've eaten a slice of pizza in your life, you have come into contact with our heritage and our culture. But now we have the chance as part of an ongoing national conversation to really learn about what it means to be Italian American and what the Italian Americans have done for this country, how they've built this country, and how they're keeping it going forward. To me, I would suggest people read. They don't have to read my books. My books aren't for everybody. That's okay. But perhaps pick up a book by an Italian American author, or pick up a book about Italy or the immigrant experience or something. Listen to the Italian American podcast. If you're not an avid reader like I am, it's all there. There's a topic for everybody that you can discover and find things out. And in terms of Pennsylvania, just look around you. This state is, to me, the best state to live in. I've had opportunities, I've had offers to leave it. I won't leave it. You could ask anybody who knows me. You're stuck with me, PA. But you can take a look at any one of our towns in this state and you will find something Italian if you really open up your eyes. And it might not be what you're expecting it to be. It might be an Italian stone carver who carved the statue that's in your town square, or it might be an Italian restaurant. It might be your favorite pizzeria or something, but there's always something Italian around you. And just take a drive if you're not sure. You will find things. I did not know that Sayre has a big Italian American community until I was on my way to Cleveland for a conference, and I decided to go up and over instead of taking 80. And I stopped in Sayre for a little bit of a break. I could not believe all that I was learning, and that's Sayre. You would think, being from the Northeast, I would know this. I didn't. So there's always something that you can discover in this area. And I think that's the main thing for America 250. It's that spirit of discovery. And if I could help one person discover Italian American heritage and culture, especially right here in Pennsylvania, then I feel like I've done my job.
Oh, absolutely. No, I think this interview alone, just sharing so much with all of us has been incredible. And we really appreciate hearing your viewpoint and the research that you've done. Of course, that's something we are striving to incorporate as we move to 2026. So thank you so much again for sharing. Is there anything else? Yeah, absolutely, anytime. Now, is there anything else that we didn't touch on that you'd like to share, or any kind of messages you'd like to send to people?
Off of what I just said, if you're somebody who's interested in Italian American heritage and culture, message me. And I will be happy to connect you with the resources that might help you discover it. And the cool thing is, you don't have to be Italian American to discover Italian American culture. I liken it to the topic of food because I'm a foodie myself. And I was just saying to a friend earlier today, I am dying for some Greek food. Like, you would think, like, the Italian American person, like, what's going on? She wants Greek food. I love it. Same thing with Thai food. But food is a tangible way to discover someone else's culture. And if you're not sure where you want to begin, just start there. Just start with an Italian cookbook and discover something. Or if you really want to do a deep dive, pick up a book, listen to the Italian American podcast. There's so many resources out there. And if you're stuck, that's what I'm here for. Message me and I'm happy to help. Or if you have something that I should know about for my great giant Pennsylvania Italian project, I am ready to listen to you because I really want that to be phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think you made a good point too about finding that common ground too of, everybody loves food, obviously. So that's a good leeway into learning about different cultures. It was very, very interesting. You mentioned that. Well, thank you so much again for joining us today. If you're interested in learning more about Stephanie's work or America250PA, we encourage you to visit our website at www.america250pa.org. We're also on social media. You could see this interview featured here, also within a blog post on our website. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and we're just recently on LinkedIn as well. So please connect with us. And until next time, we encourage you to join us and become a part of history and help us make 2026 epic. So thanks again.